Qantas Australian Grand Prix. Brought to you by IBM e-Business Solutions. BMW, sheer driving pleasure. Carpoint.com.au. MYOB, you can manage this GST. Gillette Mac 3. The Australian Defence Force. And Foster's Light Ice for extreme refreshment. Today, Melbourne launches Formula One into the new millennium with the Qantas Australian Grand Prix. The world watches as season 2000 erupts off the grid on race day down under. Defending the crown, world champion Mika Häkkinen. Hot on the chase, Schumacher, Irvine, Barrichello, Coulthard, Villeneuve, Frentzen, and the new kid, Jenson Button. The big teams are all back for more. McLaren, Ferrari, Williams, Jordan, plus there's another force in town, the famous Jaguar. We'll pick up the pulse in pit lane with all the news, glamour and behind-the-scenes excitement. On the track, a fabulous support cast featuring the touring car heroes in their mighty V8 supercars. The park will pulsate with the roar of the wild when the international supersports take to the streets. And it's strictly amateur hour when the social set comes out to play in the BMW Celebrity Challenge. Our reporters will deliver special insights on the major stories behind a brand new season. Then we'll count you down as the lights go green for the greatest show on four wheels. The 2000 Qantas Australian Formula One Grand Prix on the one and only Wide World of Sports.
Welcome back to Albert Park for the Qantas Australian Formula One Grand Prix. There's the circus right in front of us now. Just before the break, you would have seen a shot of Jean Alessi in the Prost in the garage. And we're just getting word through that he will be starting from pit lane. Alan, what do you think might have gone wrong?
Yeah, well, as I said to you at the time we saw the picture, it was very unusual to see a driver out of the car and the car still in the garage. So they've obviously struck some last-minute snag, and I wouldn't be at all surprised. We'll probably have that verified that he might even start in the T car, but he will have to start from the pit exit after the last car on the grid goes past.
So he has to sit, wait, watch them all go past, and then away he goes.
Then they'll open up the pit exit and off he goes.
I suppose it's not too bad. He's only two rows off the back anyway, as it was.
Yeah, I mean, it'd hurt a lot more if you're in the first couple of rows, that is for sure. And so we've got the two new boys down the back. Well, I mean, really what they should do now is take off and not try and get too excited, let the field sort itself out. There might be one or two that go off in the first couple of corners and then they can take advantage of it.
Well, we saw Michael Schumacher do it last year. In fact, Rubens Barrichello as well. They were both off the back of the grid at the end when we finally got underway last year, and now their teammates sitting in the second row. We're going to go down now to the national anthem, and once we get that underway, of course, we'll be just moments away from starting the Australian Formula One Grand Prix for the year 2000 from Melbourne.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the singing of the Australian National Anthem by Bachelor Girls, James Roche and Tanya Toko.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are young and free, with golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is good. history's page. Let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing. Advance Australia fair.
Stirring sounds of the national anthem as we get set for the first Formula One Grand Prix of the millennium. Look at the colour there in pit lane as we're almost ready to go, just on the left-hand side, and on the grid itself as the starting cars there. Let's take a break. When we come back, Alan Jones will go through the grid one more time, and then it's action stations here on Nine's Wide Water Sports. Welcome back to the Qantas Australian Formula One Grand Prix. Albert Park, Melbourne, Victoria, Australia. And as you can see now, we're just moments away from getting underway. And let's go through the grid positions. Alan Jones.
Okay, well, Mika Häkkinen, pole position for him yet again. His teammate David Coulthard beside him. The two Ferrari boys, Michael Schumacher and Barrichello on the second row. The two Benson Hedges boys, Frenson and Trulli on the third row. Eddie Irvine in the new Jaguar, a great result for him. Jacques Villeneuve in the new Honda-powered BAR in 8th. Fisichella, Mika Salo, Rolf Schumacher in 11th. Pedro de la Rosa in 12th. Verstappen, Wirtz, Heidfeld, the new German newcomer, Zonta, Alesi, Genet, Deniz, Johnny Herbert well down there, Jenson Button his first Grand Prix, and Masakan his first Grand Prix, bringing up the rear.
And as we know now, Jean Alesi starting from the pits right at the back there. Let's have a look inside the cars here, Alan. Just take us through it. It looks like a helmet. Once upon a time, it stopped your head from getting smashed. All those tubes going in, what are they?
Well, the tube going into Mika, most teams now have their own physio, their own fitness guy, and their own medico. Now, I wouldn't have been at all surprised if he's had a urine test and whatever else test this morning, considering that the weather is this hot and the ground temperature is so high. They will have mixed a formula to give him what he was deficient of at the time he had the test, so there could be anything in there.
So when he wants a drink, he hits a button and it just squirts into his mouth?
He just hits a button on the steering wheel, and that electrically gets the fluid going into his helmet and consequently into his mouth and replenishes his fluid loss.
What about the actual steering wheel itself? We see a number of buttons on there as well. What does all that do?
Well, I mean, the steering wheel now is just unbelievable. I mean, they reckon the cost of a Ferrari wheel now is about $75,000 US.
So you don't throw it when you have a stack anymore?
Well, you might get into trouble with Jean Todt if you did. But no, they can pre-select a situation. If they're coming into a second gear corner, for instance, they can press the button, the car will go down to second gear in readiness for that particular corner. They can talk backwards and forwards to their pits, obviously. They can put fluid in their helmet. They can seek out information digitally on the dashboard, how the engine is running in different bits and pieces. It's unbelievable. I, quite frankly, don't know how they remember it all and drive the car.
We saw a little strip across Barrichello's nose there just to keep the air passage open in the nose. A lot of the American gridiron players use that now. We see also the blankets on the tyres. What's all that about, Alan?
That's to keep the temperature of the tyres up. What they do is these tyres have got an optimum operating temperature, and what they do is they put their electric blankets, literally, and they put them on the tyre. They're heated up, and hopefully they will be the last things that are removed from the car, because when these cars have got reasonably cold tyres with 800 horsepower, they're extremely difficult to control. So they take those tyres off at the last possible minute, maintain the heat in the tyres, and hopefully they've got some grip from the word go. All
right, well, we've been talking about it long enough, Alan. Who's going to win?
Well, I think you'd probably have to say Häkkinen. I mean, the two Ferraris were knocking on the door speed-wise, and I'm sure that Schumacher would have been further up had that lap not been stopped. But looking at the cars and looking at the body language, I think they're doing it just that little bit tougher. The McLarens just seem to be doing it fairly easy. I think the Ferrari's got the speed, but I think the drivability of the car is a bit more difficult than the McLaren at this stage. On the other hand, a Jordan could spring a surprise, because they're just quietly going about their business. They've got the reliability, they've got an engine from last year, there's no new engines. It's just mainly a development from last year, so they could be a surprise.
All right, so once again, it's Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard, the two McLaren drivers, on the front of the grid. Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello, the two Ferrari drivers, next. Then the two Jordans of Heinz-Harald Frentzen and Jarno Trulli, and then the two wildcards, if you like. On 7th position, Eddie Irvine, who won here last year driving the Jaguar in his debut performance, and then Jacques Villeneuve, who of course has won a world championship in the BAR team, now starting to be competitive finally. Well, it's the Arrows team there, plenty of orange across the top of them as well. There's the Williams team. We're going to be ready for a start in a few moments' time. Let's head down now to our international callers, Martin Brundle and the voice of Formula One, Mr. Murray Walker.
This, of course, is the formation lap. Mika Häkkinen, David Coulthard, Michael Schumacher, and if anybody drops back incidentally or has a bad start, they are now allowed to take up position on the formation lap. Unfortunately, that has not happened.
Yes, they're all away nice and cleanly. And all of the cars on your right-hand side of the grid, the left of the grid from the driver's perspective, have an advantage. That is the racing line. That is going to be cleaner. Fortunately here, there's an awful lot of races through the 4-day period, and it does tend to even that grid up a little bit in terms of the level of grip. But still, Häkkinen's side of the grid, the odd numbers, will have more grip away.
Well, fingers crossed for a good start. It was aborted last year. Michael Schumacher stalled his engine and had to start from the back of the grid, and then the two stewards nearly burst into flames.
Interesting tactics here. Look how hard the two McLaren boys are taking that field round. That's very unusual. Normally, they'll have to back off in another couple of corners and bring the field together. Otherwise, they'll be standing at the front of the grid for the best part of a minute. They've got to hold the field up towards the end, but they really did scream away. Looked pretty much like a tactic to me.
This is the approach of turn 11 and turn 12, the right-hander there. They accelerate up to about 165 miles an hour as they go past the Powerhouse Exhibition Centre, the one with the white roof there. Then down, this is a 16-turn course. The lap is 3.27 miles.
Everybody, my understanding is everybody except Jenson Button on the softer tyres, and I'm also expecting very long first runs here, probably mid-30s in terms of laps before they come in. I think Ferrari were experimenting with two-stop fuel this morning, probably more to rattle the cage of McLaren than anything. I'm really fully expecting them all to one stop. And as the tyres appear to give more grip as they get older around here, for whatever reason, the compound has changed this year. It seems a bit more durable. We're expecting them really to try and stay on those tyres as long as they can. That means the cars are very heavy on the line, Murray.
Yep, and a credible thing in the warm-up this morning, Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari was fastest. An amazing 1.6 seconds faster than anybody else. Quite what that means, I don't know. What
it means exactly is the difference between running a one-stop fuel load and a two-stop fuel load. That weight put into the computer equates exactly. And what it also means is there's very little in the pace between Ferrari and McLaren.
We'll see. There are the two McLarens. World champion Mika Häkkinen driving through the heat haze. David Coulthard peels off behind him. Michael Schumacher pulls up behind Häkkinen. Barrichello behind David Coulthard. There are the two yellow Jordans in their new brighter livery.
Yes, Coulthard. Coulthard and Frentzen have lined themselves up at a slight angle to try to get over on that cleaner line as soon as possible. And Alesi patiently waiting in what must seem a very quiet pit lane.
Well, he was starting 17th on the grid. He's now effectively starting 22nd. A big penalty, not as bad as it might have been, though. And just look at the heat. It's about 40 degrees on the track down here.
Lights are on, the red lights are on.
3 lights, 4 lights, 5. It'll go out and it will be go in Australia. Lovely start by Mika Häkkinen. David Coulthard's going well. Schumacher is third. And coming up very well is Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the yellow Jordan. He's passed Rubens Barrichello. Rubens Barrichello goes down a place, and it looks to me as though everybody is through the first sequence of corners, and Mika Häkkinen has got David Coulthard riding behind him. There is Rubens Barrichello. A terrific log jam of cars. Are they all going to get round this corner? Yes, they do. Round the Sports Centre corner. And so it is McLaren leading as it was last year. McLaren second as it was last year. Michael Schumacher is third. Frentzen is fourth. Barrichello is fifth. Trulli is sixth. And in seventh position, well up, is Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR.
Yes, despite all of their practice and testing to get away, the Ferraris were both particularly tardy off the line. And fortunately, Michael Schumacher was able to stay ahead of the Jordans, but Rubens Barrichello dropping down to fifth place.
Well, I tell you, the Jenson Button is going through this field like a hot knife through butter. I saw the last five together, and he was not amongst them. Indeed, I believe he's up with his teammate Ralf Schumacher. We'll have to look down the field. He's up into 15th position. Jenson Button has moved up from 21st on the grid to 15th before the end of the first lap. Mika Häkkinen, there he is, from Finland in the McLaren. And now look, this is very different to last year. Last year, the two McLarens, Häkkinen and Coulthard, majestically strode away from Michael Schumacher. They're not doing it this time, but the first three are stretching away from the first Jordan. Lap one completed. Look at the gap there. This is great stuff already, and we've got to have 58 laps of this. It's going to be a long, hard, tiring race. Hard on brakes. When are the fuel stops going to come? McLaren, Ferrari, Jordan, Ferrari. Marc Genet has gone into the pits already, and at the end of the first lap, Jenson Button is in 15th place. Behind Rubens Barrichello, Trulli is 6th, Villeneuve is 7th, Mika Salo is in 8th position. Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar has dropped down 2 places tonight.
And Herbert is out of the race. Johnny Herbert, who's had an appalling weekend, is already out of the race. He's at the end of the pit lane here, so he's past the white line, now in vision with you, and well, no way they can recover that car, and there's no point in doing so anyway. And Johnny, well, what's he got to do? We say this every year, don't we?
We do. Well, Jaguar have got a very special oiling system combining the oil in the engine and the gearbox. It's given a lot of trouble and is continuing to do so.
And I don't know what's going to happen here. It looks like, oh, and this is why Johnny's out of the race. Look, he was minding his own business, going around the outside, and a Sauber and probably a BAR on the inside touched and just ran into him, has clearly damaged his car.
Yeah, I was just looking to see where Herbert was at the time.
What's interesting here, Murray, is the McLarens are actually just stretching away gently. Look, it was 1.4 second lead that Häkkinen had over Schumacher at the end of the first lap. Let's see what it is this time round. 2.2, look, so he's a full 8/10 up. So Michael Schumacher not showing that blistering pace yet.
You heard what James Allen was saying, that it was sensible strategy, to a lot of people, to put Mika Häkkinen on a 2-stop strategy, David Coulthard on a 1-stop strategy between Häkkinen and Schumacher, which is where he is now. That would fit the circumstances at the present moment, with Mika Häkkinen definitely making the pace and a gap developing between Schumacher, who is third, and Frentzen, who is fourth. That gap, 3.4 seconds.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if Häkkinen's on a 2-stopper, to be honest, because I think that means unless he can really skate off into the distance, at some point he would have to overtake at least one of the Ferraris. So I think Häkkinen is just blisteringly fast in these early stages, which almost Senna-esque he's tended to be in the last few years.
Yeah, Mika Häkkinen has got this incredible ability, which he demonstrated yesterday, to pull out something very, very special when it's needed. He did it for qualifying yesterday when he took that pole position for the 22nd time in his career. He's doing it again right now.
Well, both McLarens failed on Saturday morning, where Ron Dennis assures me they know exactly what the problem was and it can't reoccur. Remember, the Ferrari was far more bulletproof last year in the reliability stakes than McLaren could achieve. So Michael will be probably reasonably happy sitting there, slightly disappointed the McLarens are pulling away from him, but it seems like he's pegged it this time around.
Well, the thing that's interesting me at the moment is that I did not expect, the gap has increased very slightly to 2.4 seconds between Häkkinen and Schumacher. I did not expect Heinz-Harald Frentzen to get ahead of Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari as quickly as he has, and to stay there. They're battling very closely on the track. We haven't seen them, but the Jordan is tucked right up under, and behind is Jarno Trulli in 6th position. So the two Jordans are 4th and 6th. Here are the leaders: McLaren, Ferrari, then Frentzen, then Barrichello, then Trulli.
Yes, I expect to see more of Barrichello later in this race. He's particularly good around this racetrack. Plus, he's been so mature all through the weekend and so calm. He seems to be completely under control. Louise is with Johnny Herbert.
Johnny, that was hardly worth doing your seatbelts up, was it?
Well, it's been a weekend like that, to be honest. It's been very difficult for everybody. We knew we had an engine sort of problem. We hoped we'd come here and obviously got rid of most of that, but we still haven't. So we've got to put ourselves together, obviously, regroup, really delve into it and find the problem, of course. We have a few other reliability issues as well we need to do. But, you know, generally it's we know the car, when it runs, is actually a capable car. But obviously it's just a bit frustrating, like today, where you get a good start. You're getting a little bit, all right, it was a bit I think Pedro got pushed by someone who got pushed into me. But then the clutch went directly after that, so I was already on my way out, which is, you know, it's just a shame because we need the mileage now.
Things can only get better.
Well, you're watching now the Jordan followed by the Ferrari. It's Frentzen and Barrichello. Just behind them in 6th position is Jarno Trulli. Where is Johnny Herbert's teammate Eddie Irvine in the other Jaguar? He started 7th. He's been passed by both the arrows of Verstappen and De La Rosa and Mika Salo's Sauber and Villeneuve's BAR. So Eddie Irvine, the man who won this race for Ferrari last year, is down in 11th place. And Mika Häkkinen has now just made another fastest lap of the race. He's really flying. 1 minute 33.9.
Well, Barrichello's got a job on to pass that Jordan, which is not too slow in any part of this racetrack. Barrichello's got the faster car at the moment, that's clear to see. But has he got enough of an advantage? There really are so few places around here. The braking and turn-in areas are short and very high-speed turn-ins, for example, into this chicane, and doesn't offer any overtaking opportunities. That's a Lacey trying to make up ground, trying to overtake the Sauber, and clearly locks the rear wheels, probably on downshift as he headed into the apex with a bit too much speed. And that's put him probably straight to the rear again.
Yeah, his dander is well and truly up. He had made his way up from last to 18th. As we look at Jacques Villeneuve now, 7th position in the BAR, and right behind him is Mika Salo in the Sauber, the man who drove for Ferrari and BAR last year. Salo in the Sauber with the Ferrari engine, and Jacques Villeneuve will be looking not just for another finish, he didn't have many of those last year, but for BAR's first point, as Pedro de la Rosa and Verstappen have a look at Mika Salo. The new orange arrows are going magnificently with the Supertech engine. They've got a brand new chassis, they've got two very tidy drivers, and one of them, Pedro de la Rosa, you can see in 10th position, is swarming about all over Salo, and behind the second one, Jos Verstappen, is Eddie Irvine in the Jag.
Yes, and I'm expecting that arrows to be quick through the entire race. Looking at it, remember I said in qualifying yesterday, it's very supple at the rear. It seems like it rides the track and the bumps and the curbs, and I think that'll pay dividends if they're doing very long stints to keep the tyres better intact. Running quite wide there, Verstappen, but the arrows seeming to be confirming their winter season pace. Salo doing very well there in 8th place too in his first race for Sauber.
Lap 6 out of 58. There's the leader, Mika Häkkinen. You can see how far he is ahead of David Coulthard. Look now for the Ferrari of Michael Schumacher. It's about 2.8 seconds down the road as Häkkinen comes through to complete his 6th lap. But Michael Schumacher is still very, very much in touch with the leaders. Frentzen is still 4th, then Barrichello and Trulli. Mika Häkkinen has just done another fastest lap, and Michael Schumacher goes quicker again. Michael Schumacher is piling on the pace. He's closing slightly. He's got it down to 2.7 seconds.
Yes, Schumacher's very fast in the last section of the racetrack, over half a second a lap faster than McLaren's, and that's where he's able to make it up. So Michael beginning his charge now. Barrichello still tucked up behind Frentzen by just 0.2 of a second. Button dropped back to 16th place. He's lapping about 2.5 seconds slower than the leaders per lap.
And that is nothing to be ashamed of in his first race. Incidentally, it's the first race, of course, for the BMW V10 engine in the two Williams cars of Jenson Button and Ralf Schumacher, who is in 13th position. Ralf Schumacher. And David Coulthard is now taking up the attack. Fastest first sector this lap of 3.3 miles is split into 3 sectors. Eddie Irvine has spun, and it looks as though both Jaguars are likely to be able to shove off, says Eddie Irvine to the marshal.
Yeah, well, the engine stalled, so Eddie's just trying to manoeuvre it, 3-point turn it out of the way, and he wanted to decide which direction it was going in. So the safety car is standing by, we see from the computer here, but I think they'll clear that more than quickly.
Oh,
there's a wheel off there too, so whose wheel is that?
Yeah.
Somebody else must have crashed in there too, you know, because Eddie Irvine had 4 wheels. Eddie Irvine had 4 wheels on his car. Look, there it is. So somebody else, not in our... Safety car is out. Safety car deployed. And we think it's De La Rosa has gone off into the wall.
Well, that makes sense because they were together in 10th and 11th places. And as in 1999, so in the year 2000, the safety car goes out, which gives Michael Schumacher the opportunity to close up on David Coulthard, and David Coulthard to close right up on the race leader, Mika Häkkinen. There they are, first, second and third.
What I suspect happened is De La Rosa's gone off and collected Irvine or distracted Irvine in the process, but we're waiting for a replay of that. Now let's have a look here. We're going to find out. De La Rosa running wide, look, and he's lost control there.
That's very strange.
Is that the same car? I think that's Verstappen.
That was Verstappen, not De La Rosa.
Yeah, and this is the look, the front suspension failure on Verstappen's car. I wonder if it was the same problem for De La Rosa. So both arrows off in the same lap.
Well, a bad opening Grand Prix for Jaguar, with Johnny Herbert and Eddie Irvine both out by the 8th lap. Don't be too discouraged, though. There's a long and very steep climb in Formula 1 to reach the top. And Jaguar are right at the bottom of the ladder now, starting with what was the Stewart team, but there's a lot of new things in it and a completely new motor car. So we're now on lap 8 out of 58. The field will close right up while they remove the broken bits of motor car, and the race will effectively restart, but from a rolling start instead of a standing start.
Good news for Jensen, of course. That's moved him up to 13th place and enables him to close back up to the leading pack. So at the moment he's tucked up. He was just 0.6 of a second behind Wirtz before the safety car came out.
Now, one of the problems in this sort of a situation is to make the safety car go fast enough. Well, we'll soon see, but whilst this temporary lull is happening, we're going to take a break. Into lap 10 of the 58-lap Australian Grand Prix. The safety car's still out, and as I said, the race effectively restarting. Sprinting out from the pit lane comes Pedro Diniz in the Sauber, and bringing up the rear is Marc Genet there in the newly liveried Minardi, very much improved motor car. And the news, incidentally, that the takeover by the Spanish Telefonica organisation is almost completed, and it's quite likely that it will have been by the time of the Brazilian Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time, in which case the Minardi team will all move out to Spain from Italy. And the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. You know that when you see the lights go out on the roof. The safety car comes into the pit lane, and mark this very carefully, the drivers are not allowed to pass until they have crossed the line. And Eddie Irvine realised that very smartly last year by hanging back when Mika Häkkinen, the race leader, actually faltered. Eddie Irvine passed him after the line and took over the lead.
Well, they put Verstappen back out on the track. They have repaired that apparent suspension damage, so hopefully they can understand exactly what the failure was all about. But they're going around there now. Their tyres are going to be 60 degrees centigrade. They need to be about 90. Their brakes are going to be 300 to 400 centigrade. They need to be 600 to 700. So they have to be very careful when they start this new lap, because as the tyre temperatures go down, so do the pressures. They're running normally about 20, 21 PSI. They're probably 15 or 16 now, so the car runs lower, and now they've got to try and build up some kind of temperature as they lead into the restart. Häkkinen is in control. Once that safety car pulls off, Mika Häkkinen becomes the new safety car, and he has the control as to when to move over the line.
Häkkinen leading, Coulthard second, Schumacher third, fourth is Frentzen in the yellow car, fifth is Barrichello in the Ferrari, sixth is Trulli in the second Jordan, seventh is Jacques Villeneuve in the VAR, eighth is Mika Salo in the Sauber, ninth is Fisichella, 10th is Ralf Schumacher, and the safety car is in, and the Australian Grand Prix again is go! Häkkinen, Coulthard, Schumacher, and the gap between them 1.4 seconds.
I can never understand that, why they don't bury the nose of their cars under the gearbox or the one in front, why they allow the restart to take place without being as close as possible to the car in front. I know you have to a certain extent react to when, for example, in this case, Häkkinen decides to pull away, but they don't, not like the IndyCar drivers where they really seem to maximise this opportunity to overtake. The F1 drivers seem quite happy to go in line astern.
As they are now, there's the McLaren leading, McLaren second, Ferrari third, Jordan fourth, Ferrari fifth, Jordan sixth. The top three rows on the grid are the top six cars in the race, albeit in a slightly different order, because Frentzen is ahead of Barrichello. And in seventh position there's Villeneuve, right behind him is Salo, right behind him Fisichella and Ralf Schumacher in the leading BMW Williams. That is in 10th position. Jenson Button, by the way, is 13th in the race. Lap 11 out of 58. Here they come.
Michael Schumacher very close to David Coulthard this time around, not close enough to have a stab in the braking area, but he's certainly giving David something to look at in his mirrors, and Schumacher making a better fist of this early part of this restart when, as I said, all the temperatures are down, and Häkkinen, as ever, scampering away.
And Barrichello challenging the Jordan in front of him of Heinz-Harald Frentzen. In comes David Coulthard. Now, this is a very, very early stop. Good heavens. Whatever strategy he's on, I wouldn't have expected a two-stop strategy to come in before another 8 laps.
I wonder if he's got a puncture. There was a lot of debris on the track from the De La Rosa accident. I've got a feeling it's a left rear puncture for David Coulthard. It looked a little bit out of shape, that tyre. Bit of a guess on my part there, but I can only assume it's a puncture from Coulthard.
Well, it must be that, and Coulthard, of course, is losing place after place after place, and Michael Schumacher has now only got one McLaren in front of him, and it is the McLaren of reigning world champion Mika Häkkinen.
Mechanics are having a look at something else at the back there. David's obviously reported in, hey, I've got a funny handling, and what are they doing now? They're working on some kind of inlet on the side pod there, so they normally put some kind of electrical umbilical cord in there. He's got a fire in there, look. He's got a fire. James, hey, can you see anything?
Yeah, huge amount of smoke coming out, as you say, from the left side pod, trying to clear something. I think he may have picked up some debris. It may well just be moisture. Mechanic's happy. Car is on its way. It wasn't a fire, it was just a precaution. A little bit of a blast of the carbon fire extinguisher just to keep the underside of the floor cool.
And of course, he is now very much last in the race. David Coulthard came in on lap 14 last year to retire with broken throttle assembly. Mika Häkkinen followed him later on during the race, and now Coulthard down last of all.
No, look, there's a lot of smoke coming out of there, Murray. Sorry to interrupt you, but a lot of smoke coming out of the back of Coulthard's car as he turned into that corner.
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
there it is.
That's it. David Coulthard out of the race. Well, it's a brand new Mercedes engine produced by Ilmor over the winter.
Oil pouring out from underneath. I saw fluid dripping out from underneath, so the oil and the water jackets have been mixed up in the middle there somewhere, and a fairly terminal engine failure for Coulthard. He's about as lucky as Johnny Herbert, isn't he?
Lap 13, Häkkinen leads Schumacher by just over 2 seconds. Frentzen is up into third place, challenged by Rubens Barrichello. There is the leader. Fifth is Jarno Trulli. He's moved up a place. In the points is Jacques Villeneuve in the VAR, followed by Mika Salo. Fisichella is 8th. Schumacher is 9th. Jenson Button is up into 12th position.
I tell you, anybody can score points today. I think anybody has got a chance. As you see, the engine letting go on Coulthard's car. People have just got to stay on the racetrack this afternoon somehow, because look, we've already got how many cars left in the race?
Well,
just
Herbert
16,
is out.
I think, at the moment.
Yeah, Herbert is out, Irvine is out, De La Rosa is out, Coulthard is out, 22 started, so there are 18 left in the race. We're on lap 13. Michael Schumacher is speeding up. Mika Häkkinen, I can see him in his mirrors, and there is the Finn, the flying Finn as he calls himself.
Yes, and we're not even a quarter of the way through the race yet, so plenty of action to come. Look, and reliability seeming a big issue.
Yeah, look at the side pods, incidentally, of that leading McLaren. There's a new design feature. You see the kind of couple of trumpets sticking up out of the back. There they are, thank you very much. That is to get rid of the hot air from the radiators without affecting the airflow over the wings. If it works, the others will have it soon. If it doesn't, McLaren will drop it. But they've done a lot of testing, so it must work.
Häkkinen a full 0.6 of a second faster on that lap than Michael Schumacher. His lead up to 2.9. He's no longer got a rear gunner in the form of David Coulthard to help him out, so he's decided to pick up the pace.
Obviously very bad news for McLaren in the Constructors' Championship. The most points they can hope for now are 10 from Mika Häkkinen winning this race, and it's by no means certain he's going to do it. And Ferrari could score 10 points if they could get Rubens Barrichello behind Michael Schumacher up into third position. But that's speculation. There's a long, long way to go, and Häkkinen is now leading Schumacher by an increased margin of 2.9 seconds. Clear track behind Schumacher. Frentzen and Barrichello pretty close together. There they are, rounding turn 12 on their way to the golf course corner. And in 5th and 6th position, both the Jordans, incidentally, are doing well. Jarno Trulli is 5th.
Yes, Coulthard's car must have been incredibly hot, having had the safety car laps where they can tend to pick up a lot of engine temperature, not much air going through the side pods, and then that awfully long pit stop. And it doesn't surprise me at all. He had engine failure on the way out. Whether it was his reason for going in or not is another matter. Louise is down with Eddie Irvine.
Eddie, from the camera angles that we could see, it was a bit difficult to tell who collected who. Talk us through it.
No one collected anyone. De La Rosa just hit the wall and bounced out in the middle. I lifted to slow down. The car just spun the minute I lifted. It's the handling thing we've been talking about.
So, and there is Frentzen. And behind him, Barrichello. Now, this is looking good for Jordan. I was talking to Mike Gascoigne, the designer, just before the race started, and he was very, very optimistic about their chances. Heinz-Harald Frentzen, who joined Jordan last year and won 2 races for them, finished second here in Australia and showed how happy he was in his then new team. And he's now a completely rejuvenated driver, showing all the class and style that we always thought he'd got, keeping ahead of Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari. Now we are with
You're on board Barrichello.
the Ferrari of Barrichello now in 4th position, looking at Frentzen ahead of us. What's he thinking, Martin?
He's thinking, I need to get past this Jordan in a hurry. I'm already 10 seconds behind the leader, and he's currently lapping 1.3, 1.4 slower than Michael Schumacher, his teammate. So that gives you a gauge of how much time it's costing him in the turbulent air coming off of the back of that Jordan. And there's a few areas of this racetrack where it's very difficult to follow another car and actually see your line too. So Rubens needs to really have quite a big stab anytime soon. And just to translate what Eddie Irvine said, basically, De La Rosa went off in front of him. He lifted the throttle in avoidance and spun off. So that's quite an alarming handling trait that Eddie referred to as having spoken about before this weekend.
Great to see that on-board stuff from the car, incidentally. We hope to show you a lot more of that this year. And Barrichello crowding Heinz-Harald Frentzen's Jordan with Trulli behind him. Trulli is another driver, of course, who has moved from the Prost team last year to Jordan, and news from James Allen.
I'm just looking at the situation, same as you guys, with Barrichello stuck behind Anton Frentzen. It seems to me that Ferrari and McLaren are very much on the same pace, like lapping in the 132s, the 133s, on roughly the same strategy. But I'm pretty sure that Jordan's got a lot of fuel on board. They did it a lot last year. Frentzen was strong with a heavy car. He was able to push it right to the limit. And of course, that safety car period will really have helped him. He'll have been able to go longer into the race. We might even see him coming in around that 40, 45 even, with that fuel conservation he was able to do under the safety car. He is a player in this race because, of course, Ferrari and McLaren still have some question marks about their reliability.
We've just reached just over a quarter distance of this race, Murray, and we've got a situation where Häkkinen 3.4 seconds ahead of Schumacher, who's a further 8 ahead of Frentzen, and Barrichello, as you can see, just 0.4 of a second behind.
Now, the race could be transformed by drivers being on different strategies. We don't know what the situation is. It's difficult to see, I think, Häkkinen and Schumacher being on different strategies to each other, but they might well be.
New fastest lap for Michael Schumacher, taking 0.3 of a second out of Häkkinen that time around on a 1:32.4.
Now, it's a pity we can't see it, because from 9th place down to 13th, there is a colossal battle going on between Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams, Zonta in the BAR, Wurz in the Benetton, Jenson Button is tucked up underneath his rear wing, and Jean Alesi is up there as well. But we look now at the Ferrari of Michael Schumacher. Now, where is he in really? You can see he's out of sight of Mika Häkkinen on this part of the course, but he's quicker. The gap between the two is now 3.2 seconds. The fastest lap we've had is Michael Schumacher, 1:32.47. Fastest lap we had last year was 0.3 of a second slower than that by Michael Schumacher himself. We're on lap 17. There's a long way to go. We're going to leave you, but be back soon. Here is the newly liveried BAR of Ricardo Zonta from Brazil.
Häkkinen out, Murray. I think that's Häkkinen slowing.
Mika Häkkinen out of the race. Both McLarens, as they were in 1999, retiring, and Michael Schumacher goes into the lead, and it looks as though if he can keep going, he's in a very strong position to do well in Australia, which is something he has never done before. Doesn't get too excited about the situation, but a very, very unhappy race for McLaren, as it was last year. Last year they had the fastest car, but they had problem after problem through the season, and there's no doubt about the fact that it was reliability that cost them the Constructors' World Championship. Schumacher leads, the flags are flying, there is the proof. Schumacher leads the Australian Grand Prix. Häkkinen is out of it, Coulthard is out of it. Frentzen, as he was last year, is in second place, but behind a different Ferrari. Last year it was Eddie Irvine's car. This year it is that man's car, Michael Schumacher. Rubens Barrichello is third in the second Ferrari, and James Allen is in the pits.
Well, Murray, I watched that drama unfold down here in the McLaren garage. Actually, it was just beginning to kick off, just before we went to the break. Everything crossed that Mika Häkkinen wouldn't retire during a break. Just think about all the letters we get. But basically, I think it's some form of power problem. The engineers started to sense there was some difficulties. They were looking at the computer screens. They had some batteries ready. On the lower left-hand side of the side pod, there was something that they were going to hopefully top up, or it was something to do with power, electricity, I feel. It's a problem that Häkkinen had, of course, yesterday morning. He only got about 4 or 5 laps in of the morning practice session. They had to change the whole back end of the car. I think it's the same problem, possibly revisited. Something to do with power failure anyway. McLaren mechanics, of course, completely gutted. Worked very hard this weekend. Thought they were onto something here. But again, once again, second year in a row, going home with nothing.
I suspect they were trying to recharge the air valve system, probably, James. And in that case, judging by the amount of smoke coming out of the back, may well be similar to Coulthard's car in that it was running out of compressed air for the valve system. And another retirement now.
Pedro
Diniz in the Sauber. So that means we're going to be down to just 15 cars.
only 8th finish last year. Mika Häkkinen adjusting his new hairstyle as he takes his helmet off. But Michael Schumacher now with some 38 laps still to go, leads by a comfortable 17 seconds from Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Rubens Barrichello right behind Frentzen's Jordan. And I'm keeping an eye on Jenson Button for Britain, because he's now moved up into 11th position as a result of the disappearance of Mika Häkkinen. Just one place off the top 10.
And he's lapping within 0.3 of a second of Ralf Schumacher, so pretty impressive start to Jenson Button's career here in Melbourne.
Now, last year, as I was saying, just 8 cars finished the race. Now, I said earlier on that they've designed entirely new cars. Formula One is always changing them. They've tested. They've tested in Barcelona. They've tested in Jerez. Williams went out to South Africa, where it rained most of the time. But you can test until you're blue in the face or red in the face in the case of Ferrari, and you don't get the same pressure that you get in a race. Maybe we've had that proof here today with the 2 McLarens going out, and the pressure now is on Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the yellow Jordan. There is Rubens Barrichello third behind him. The next car you see is Jarno Trulli, who is in a 4th position. Now, there is only 1.3 seconds between that Jordan of Frentzen coming through to complete the lap and his teammate Jarno Trulli in the 2nd Jordan, who is behind him in 4th position.
Ron Dennis said at a press conference this week that even if he didn't win the race, but having led by a lap or something, as they have done in the last couple of years here, he'd rather that than break down and not be well ahead. Well, he's got exactly that scenario. He didn't appear to have a pace advantage as they have in previous seasons, and I think Michael breaking his leg last year certainly helped them out in terms of making up for the lack of reliability they had. But I think they'll be concerned by, more so this season, by Ferrari's pace and their still apparent lack of reliability.
Yeah, there is no doubt about the fact that Ferrari is much closer to McLaren than it was last year. Last year, Häkkinen was 1.3 seconds faster than Schumacher on the starting grid. This year it was only half a second, and that is confused a bit by the fact that Michael Schumacher had a very quick lap at the end of qualifying, which he wasn't able to complete, which would have possibly given him pole position. So I would say that it's even Steven between the McLaren and the Ferrari this year so far. And Ferrari, of course, is fabled for its reliability.
Well, this is a curious lap from Barrichello. We just happened to go on board with him. He's done 2 green sections on the computer, his fastest 2 sections of the race so far, after 22 laps completed on their 23rd, coming towards the end of it now, and has suddenly zoomed right up to the back of Frentzen. Probably he's been told to pick the pace up a little bit.
Yeah, let's look at the constructors. Ferrari is leading this race. Jordan are in a very strong position, with Frentzen in 2nd position and Trulli in 4th place. Ferrari, of course, have got Barrichello in 3rd position. BAR are on target for at least 1 point at the present moment, because Jacques Villeneuve is in 5th position, and he's more likely to finish the race this year than he did last year. By this time last year, he was out with a broken rear wing, which brought the safety car out. And he's got the Honda engine this year in the BAR, and it's been very, very reliable all through testing. BAR are looking good at the moment for their first point, and Sauber are on a single World Championship point if they finish this race, which has still got 36 laps to run, because Mika Salo, the Finn, who joined them from Ferrari as a result of Michael Schumacher coming back for that absolutely sensational drive at Malaysia last year. Mika Salo is in the Sauber team. Now, 7th is Fisichella, 8th is Ralf Schumacher, 9th is Zonta, 10th is Alexander Wurz, 11th, Jenson Button.
We're watching Trulli in 4th place there, but remember, Salo could have and should have won in Hockenheim last year, had to give the race up to teammate Eddie Irvine when he stood in for Michael Schumacher. And I have to say, Salo hasn't shown this kind or that kind of performance earlier on in his Grand Prix career. So Mika has clearly stepped up a gear somewhere.
22 started, 16 left, 6 retirements. Here they are in retirement order. Johnny Herbert out in the Jaguar. Eddie Irvine out in the Jaguar. De La Rosa out in the Arrows. David Coulthard out in the McLaren. Jos Verstappen out in the Arrows. Mika Häkkinen out in the McLaren. Both McLarens out of the Australian Grand Prix. Both Arrows out of the Australian Grand Prix. And both Jaguars. 3 very unhappy teams with a lot to do. And leading still Michael Schumacher. Well, is this going to be the brilliant double world champion Michael Schumacher from Germany's race? It's his 127th Grand Prix, of which he has won an incredible 35.
I can see a Prost in the pit lane, stationary in the pit lane, Murray out of the window, so I can't see which driver it is from here, but it looks like we may have yet another. Hearing on the radio, it's Heidfeld, so we've got yet another retirement from this motor race.
Yes, I was talking earlier on and I think got distracted. This is the first race of the year, and although testing is one thing, racing is another, particularly in this sort of heat. It's not nearly as hot as it was yesterday. The track temperature yesterday at one point nudged up to 50 degrees. It's 35 degrees now, but it's still mighty hot. And when David Coulthard and Mika Häkkinen got out of their cars at the end of qualifying, they looked like a couple of boiled lobsters in silver suits. James Allen, news?
Yeah, Murray, I'm just trying to get a little bit closer to the bottom of what happened to the 2 McLarens. It appears that both cars went out with the same problem, and it appears it's engine-based. They both had misfires. Coulthard came in to try and fix some form of misfire. The little flash of flame you saw under the car and the flash of the fire extinguisher was because the bodywork was getting hot, but the basic problem was to do with a misfire. The mechanic was working on the same area of the car that they were going to have to work on Häkkinen's had he made it into the garages. So same failure, both cars engine related.
Thanks for that, James. Clearly a lot to do. And here is Schumacher coming up to Pedro Diniz, who is in 14th place. 15 cars left now. Nick Heidfeld out of his first Grand Prix for Prost, the Formula 3000 champion of last year. But I think he's... I've just had news that we think he's actually rejoined the race. Yes, he's out of the pits, I see on my screen in front of me. Nick Heidfeld has rejoined, so there are 16 runners still left. Michael Schumacher is leading Frentzen now. There is Frentzen by 20 seconds. There is Barrichello in 3rd position, and Trulli very much in touch in the 2nd yellow Jordan.
Yes, but we're seeing a performance similar to Michael Schumacher's, really, especially now the McLarens have disappeared off the scene, similar to last year in Malaysia, because he's been lapping a full 1.3 seconds faster than his pursuers. He's 20 seconds ahead of Frentzen. And Barrichello, I mean, Michael was quicker on that last lap, despite the traffic you saw him overtaking, and just setting a new fastest first sector of the race already as I'm speaking. Michael just really in a league of his own at the moment.
Martin, your thoughts on the fact? No, not your thoughts on that, because with the news that on lap 26 it is still Schumacher, Frentzen, Barrichello, Trulli, Villeneuve and Salo in 6th position. We're going for a break. Lap 28 out of 56, which, unless I'm very much mistaken, is half the distance for the Australian Grand Prix. Track temperature 34 degrees. It's going down, and Louise Goodman is with Ron Dennis, the boss of McLaren.
Ron, I understand both cars have gone out of the race with an engine-related problem. What can you tell me about that?
Yes, that's quite correct. They suffered exactly the same failure, which was pneumatic failure in the valve gear, which is exactly the problem we had with 2 engines in qualifying yesterday, or practice in the morning. What's obviously frustrating is that we complete thousands of miles testing to avoid these sorts of problems at a Grand Prix, and probably some spec changes occurred between the last test and the preparation of these engines, which has caused these failures to occur. On the positive side, they're all exactly the same. It is a small failure, and as such, it will be technically very difficult result. But when you're dominating a race and already in a situation where you're conserving fuel and dropping the pace, it's very frustrating. I think it was a comfortable result, and makes it a little bit more difficult to accept.
Thanks for talking to us.
New fastest lap of the race for Michael Schumacher. Strangely, pole position was slightly slower this year, and that's unusual, but the race pace is faster. Michael's still pulling out over a second a lap on his pursuers, and he's lapping best part of 2.5 seconds a lap faster than, for example, the Williams, the Benetton, and the midfield group that are running from 5th through down to Jenson Button in 11th place. 2.5 seconds a lap faster. James is with Mika Hakkinen.
Mika, you were driving so well there. You must be incredibly disappointed.
Yes, extremely. I am very disappointed, but luckily we have still as much races to go like it was total last year, so I think I still have a pretty good chance to score some points this year.
Last year, Ron said he'd like to lead this race. That's more important, even if you're retired. Do you still feel that way? Do you feel you have the edge over Ferrari from what you've seen this afternoon?
I think we are very competitive at the moment, very strong, and I'm happy with the speed of the car. I'm not happy to finish in the Grand Prix, and like you probably heard me yesterday saying, what is important here to come here and score some points. Top 6 for scoring points, I'm happy. That did not happen, so it doesn't feel very nice at the moment.
Thanks a lot, Mika.
Out of the race goes Jean Alesi, a very pragmatic Ron Dennis saying how it is, a very pragmatic Mika Hakkinen reflecting on the situation. And yes, I am very much mistaken. Twice 26 is not 58. We are not quite at the halfway point of the race. Well, we are now, actually, because we're on lap 29 out of 58. As you watch Michael Schumacher, he's lapping driver after driver. He's on his 30th lap. He's leading Heinz-Harald Frentzen by nearly 25 seconds. Frentzen has continued to have Barrichello glued to his gearbox, and Trulli is 5.5 seconds down the road in 4th place. Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR is still in a comfortable 5th position, with Mika Salo pressing him pretty hard. 7th is Fisichella, 8th is Schumacher, 9th is Zonta, 10th is Wurz, 11th is Jenson Button, and the Ferrari mechanics are out, presumably to bring in Michael Schumacher, the race leader. I wouldn't think, Martin, that they're bringing Barrichello in and hoping there's going to be a change between him and Frentzen as a result of a quicker Ferrari pit stop.
Well, they may have left Michael slightly lighter at the beginning of the race to give him a chance to pass the McLarens and still stay on a one-stopper, or they could be thinking of Schumacher coming in the pits now. They could have been thinking of trying to get Barrichello past Frentzen by stopping him very early. In fact, they might be better off stopping him very late. As James said at the beginning of the show, Jordan traditionally have a big fuel tank. James is down at the Ferrari pit. Michael, with the new speed limit here for this year, just 50 miles an hour. It seems an eternity, and of course, as the world champions, they're right at the far end of the pit lane.
80 kilometres an hour, it seems so slow in comparison with last year. Really is going to have a huge effect on the pit stops this year. A set of used tyres, scrub tyres we call them, going on. The teams have found that they go really, really well. 12.2 completely normal, one-stop fuel load, slightly slow, but hey, they don't need to rush these guys. Now, of course, Ross Brawn has got to think very hard about how he gets Rubens Barrichello in front of Frentzen, given that Frentzen is obviously going to run long on this first stint.
Well, Michael Schumacher is joined just in front of Jarno Trulli, which means to say that Frentzen leads. Barrichello is in 2nd place. Now, you saw the Ferrari mechanics frantically scrabbling about in the side pods of Schumacher's Ferrari. That is because the grass here at Melbourne has been cut. Some of it has not been collected. It has dried out, and you get an awful lot of grass in those side pods on the radiators. And the teams have fitted very, very tight mesh gauze strainers, and the grass piles up on that. They have to get it out, otherwise the engines are going to dramatically overheat.
Yes, and it's crucial for Schumacher to get out in front of Trulli, because even though he's got a heavier fuel load now, Trulli getting towards the end of his fuel, Michael tanked up, as we saw, on a 12.2 second stop. Roughly 12 litres per second goes in from the rig, and he now maintains track position whilst being in third place. His pit stop's out of the way, and that worked out just fine for him.
Well, now the interesting thing is how much longer is Heinz-Harald Frentzen going to stay out in the lead, with Rubens Barrichello pressing him very hard indeed. There is the Jordan crossing the line. Now let's see where the Ferrari is behind it. There is Rubens Barrichello, and you just saw the flash of Frentzen's wing, so it's a very close fight in the front for the lead. Now if Frentzen can stay out quite a long time by having a heavier fuel load when this race started, he will mean to say that he'll have to take on less fuel when he stops, therefore take less time, and therefore be in a stronger position. But that again is speculation. Lap 32 out of 58, Frentzen leads. There's Barrichello behind him in second place. Frentzen was in second place last year. Barrichello drove an absolutely sensational race last year, because, as I said, after starting from the pit lane in the Stewart after that fire he'd had, he clawed his way up, and then he had a 10-second penalty because he passed Michael Schumacher on the line after the safety car went out, and Barrichello still finished in 5th position last year.
Mika Salo has pitted from 6th position. Presumably that was a regular pit stop, and that puts Button up in, Jensen Button up into 10th. Salo currently running 11, but I think it was a scheduled stop.
Now, I thought I saw Trulli emerging. No, it was one of the Minardis. The liveries of the Jordans and the Minardis are very similar this year. It's a much brighter yellow, as you can see for yourself, for Jordan, partly to defer to Deutsche Post, which is one of their new sponsors, and a large amount of money is being put into the Jordan team. You'll see the trumpets on there they are on the airbox. New sponsors all round, because as I said earlier on, there's a lot of high-tech money going into the teams, not the least of which is coming into the Arrows team from Orange.
Yes, Rubens will be ruining that poor start, won't he, with on the 33rd lap of the race. And, well, look how much it's cost him. He's still tucked up behind Frentzen, but I have to say, not exactly carrying him around every corner either. So Rubens appears to be pacing himself slow, but he needs to pick that pace up, because Michael in the sister car has been going significantly faster.
And as a result of the disappearance of Jean Alesi, Jensen Button in his first Grand Prix for BMW Williams is in 10th position. He is in the top 10. The Ferrari pit crew are getting ready again, and this time, of course, it will definitely be for Rubens Barrichello, as Heinz-Harald Frentzen is coming up to the traffic. Salo in front of him.
Yes, unless Frentzen, that's a Sauber, I think, in front, but unless Frentzen gets badly held up in the traffic, then, in fact, it's a Prost, then this is not going to work for Barrichello. Michael's gone out, and he's lapping some 2.5 seconds slower now with that extra fuel load. So clearly, pitting early is not going to help Barrichello at all. He just needs to hope that Frentzen gets caught up in some traffic, but so few cars on the road this afternoon, that's unlikely to happen.
So we're riding with Rubens Barrichello from 3rd position. He made a brave try to get past Heinz-Harald Frentzen as they were lapping Nick Heidfeld in the frost, but comes up into the pit lane. Up on the jacks goes the Ferrari. Off come the old tyres and wheels, on go the new ones. Out comes the fuel filler. 9 seconds. Rather a slow start.
Yeah, it's a bit of a jerky getaway there for Rubens. He just seems so serene this weekend, almost too serene. He's been cruising around, happy to talk to anybody and driving really beautifully, but a bit tardy away there, and that certainly won't give him a chance to slingshot Frentzen, although I'm looking to see what kind of traffic Frentzen does have in his view.
So there is Rubens. You can tell the difference between the two Ferraris, incidentally, by the yellow flashes on the extremities of the front wing and on the roll bar over the airbox, and you certainly need them. He's coming up to Jensen Button now. This is going to be interesting to see how the young Englishman in his first Grand Prix in the BMW Williams, it's their first Grand Prix together, copes with new boy at Ferrari, Rubens Barrichello. And Barrichello is in his 113th Grand Prix, despite his comparatively tender age of 27.
I think when it all shakes out, Button is ahead of Barrichello this time with the pit stop. Remember, with that safety car, earlier in the race, it reformed the pack. So it's not a traditional situation where they make a regular stop and come back out in a predictable position on the racetrack. So I think you'll find Barrichello shakes out actually behind Jensen at this point in the race.
Jensen is going jolly well, but the important thing for him in this race is not so much position, but above everything else, to get some race mileage in. He's had comparatively little testing in the Williams because they've had a lot of development problems with the engine in particular. They had rain in South Africa when they went out to Kyalami for a full week, and Jensen is definitely light on mileage. So the deeper into this race he can get, preferably to finish it, the better off he will be for the future events. And he's in 9th place now. As Martin has correctly pointed out, Rubens Barrichello, as a result of that pit stop, is in 10th position. So Button moved up a place, and Rubens Barrichello has dropped from 3rd to 10th.
Yes, that's cost Rubens badly. That poor getaway put him behind yet another car. James, what can you tell us about Barrichello?
Well, Martin, I'm just looking at this, and it's very strange because for one normal one-stop fuel load, you wouldn't get it away in 8 seconds, and that's really all that Rubens was stationary for. What I'm thinking has happened here, because we had the safety car 3 or 4 laps out there, they told Rubens to run the car really lean. He's stuck behind Frentzen. He doesn't seem to be able to get past him. He's been conserving fuel for the last 10 or 15 laps. So, of course, he comes in. They put in a very short fill, hoping to get him out early so he could put the hammer down. But, of course, he messed up the getaway. So it may well be, but, of course, it messes up his chances of getting ahead of Frentzen. Just a theory, but it might be the case.
Yeah, I guess you'd never choose a Ferrari as a getaway car, necessarily attracts too much attention. But all jokes aside, Barrichello there certainly cost himself dearly. And let's see what times Jensen's doing. Low, 1 minute 34s. Ralf Schumacher, 33.4. So he's still lapping 36 laps into the race, within 6/10 of Ralf. So his fitness...
Off goes the Jordan. And it's Jarno Trulli from 3rd position. Now Button is actually running 7th at the moment, or he was. Now he's in 6th position. Jensen Button is in a position at the moment, and it's a long way still to go, to score a World Championship point in his first race. Jarno Trulli blows it in his first race for Jordan. Disconsolately walks away from the car out of the gravel trap. Here it is.
I think it's going to be a mechanical failure, not a driving error though, Murray. Yeah, look, the engine's letting go and locking the rear wheels. You have to get the clutch buried very quickly, and then the hydraulic pressure fades away, and that's an oil fire at the back of the car there. As you know, it then quickly burns itself out, and in comes Frentzen for his stop. Frentzen from the lead of this Grand Prix. We're assuming now he's just 14 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher, and it's about a 28-second total cost to come in the pit lane. So Michael Schumacher will regain the lead. The big story is, where will Barrichello end up? Will he end up in front of or behind Frentzen? My guess is behind. Let's see what sort of job Jordan can do there. Look, they've got a refueling problem. Look, the refueler's not gone on yet. It's not even on at all, so this plays beautifully into Barrichello's hands, and they're still shaking their heads. They can't get the refueler started. It looks like it may be putting fuel in now. The car must be getting so hot sitting there. 23 seconds, so disastrous stop for the Jordan team.
Hear this, lap 37. Michael Schumacher leads. Jacques Villeneuve is in 2nd position. Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams is 3rd, and Jensen Button is in 4th position. Incredible! Rubens Barrichello is in 5th place. Frentzen, there he is, fighting hard to recover what was the lead, and is now very, very much down the field for him. This race is getting red hot. Race leader.
Well, we've seen the other Jordan go out with a smoky engine, and certainly sitting there for that amount of time for Frentzen will not have done his engine any favours whatsoever. I wouldn't want to put any money on who's going to be on the podium this afternoon, Murray. Still such a long way to go, and so many dramas.
Yeah, we've still got 22 laps to go, including the one that Michael Schumacher is concluding right now. Well, all you can say is, as I've said before, that Ferrari have up to now had reliability on their side. Michael Schumacher's now on his 38th lap. And it could be that Jacques Villeneuve is not only going to score his first points for BAR and BAR's first points after a terrible 1999, but he's going to be in... No, he's not, because Ralf Schumacher is now up into second position as into the pits comes Villeneuve. There is the proof in front of you. And I saw one of the BMWs coming in. There is Jenson Button coming in for his race stop.
That's the first ever pit stop of his career. So his Grand Prix career, of course. In fact, I think it's probably the first racing pit stop of his in career full stop. And a good one it was too for the Williams team on 11 seconds dead. Jenson over the white line now. He can press the button, get rid of the speed limiter and accelerate towards the first corner.
New boots, take it easy, Jenson. Remember, the grip characteristics will be different in the car now from the older tyres that you've just got rid of. But on lap 38, Michael Schumacher seems only to have to keep going to win the Australian Grand Prix for the first time. But I dare not make any promises. I hardly dare speculate, because, as I said, BMW, who are entirely new to Grand Prix racing since they left it so long ago when Nelson Piquet won with a Brabham BMW Turbo the World Championship in when was it? 3. But they're looking mighty good at the present moment as Ralf Schumacher follows his teammate Jenson Button in for a pit stop. He follows in from second position. Now that means that Barrichello will definitely move up into second place in the Ferrari. And we better just let this round of pit stops develop and the race calm down a bit so that we can see exactly how everything has settled. Oh, there's a lot of problems. I was wondering if it was a heat problem. But it's not all that hot. 24 degrees air temperature. Ralf Schumacher, who finished third last year, going well, and we've got news from Louise Goodman.
Yeah, disastrous couple of laps for the Jordan team there. As you rightly surmised, Martin, that was an engine problem for Trulli. And then, of course, Frentzen, the refuelling problem, that was a stuck nozzle. That's obviously a serious blow to Hip's hopes of repeating last year's result, and when it was all going so well for the team. Bad news for Jordan.
Thank you, Louise. That 11-second stop for Jenson worked out just fine. It's actually put him ahead of Zonta and particularly Salo. Salo must have had some kind of drama. So Jenson in 7th place. Ralf Schumacher, we haven't really seen. He's got to complete his outlap yet. I suspect that's going to put him down around 5th place.
Well, things have got to settle down, but quickly, here are the first 6 on lap 39. Schumacher leading Barrichello now. Ferrari first and second. Ralf Schumacher's been into the pits. Frentzen third, Villeneuve fourth, Fisichella in 5th position, and Jenson Button is in 6th place. Time for a break. Lap 41, 17 to go. Michael Schumacher has slowed down a lot. There is Frentzen. We think he is coming in to retire from the race. He slowed down so much. He's got a gearbox problem. That has been the Achilles heel of the Jordan car, this year's car, in testing, and it looks as though it struck again, if an Achilles heel can strike. Michael Schumacher then, Ferrari leads. Rubens Barrichello, Ferrari, 11 seconds behind him and speeding up to close the gap. Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams is third, Villeneuve is fourth, Fisichella is fifth, and the second BMW Williams of Jenson Button is in the points in 6th place. Ricardo Zonta is in 7th place ahead of Mika Salo. Wurz is 9th. Frentzen was 10th, but now Deniz will be. There are only 13 cars left with 17 laps to go out of the 22 who started. It is now a question of reliability.
Rubens Barrichello setting the fastest lap of the race on a 1:31.4, some 4 seconds faster than Michael Schumacher. Don't really understand why Michael's backing off quite so much. They do have a 40-second cushion back to the next runner, which is now Ralf Schumacher in the Williams. So I assume when Rubens gets up to the back of Michael, he won't be able to do anything about it. He'll have to follow him. But Michael's looking in his mirror there to see where he is. But why is he going quite so slowly?
Well, has he got a problem? You remember the last year when Irvine was number 2 in the Ferrari team, he was number 2. And if he was in front of Schumacher, he had to move over and let him through. Now, Rubens Barrichello has made great play out of the fact that he's not number 2, he's 1B. And he has not got to give way to Schumacher, but has Schumacher got to give way for him if Barrichello is in a faster car? I very much doubt it. Schumacher now on his 43rd lap, and Barrichello looks as though he's going to be making one of the quickest laps of the race. In fact, the gap is down to 4.8 seconds. If it continues at this rate, in about 3 or 4 laps' time, we're going to see the 2 Ferraris absolutely together, and that is going to raise a very, very interesting political situation.
Yes, Michael's pace is matching everybody else, plus a little bit on the racetrack, with the exception of Barrichello cruising up behind him in second place. Jensen just 0.6 of a second behind Fisichella and lapping faster, so there'll be a squabble there for 5th place quite soon. Behind Jensen, Zonta and a recovering Salo we didn't see, but he must have had a very poor pit stop. Salo, who was running so well, lost out quite badly in the stops. That's a Minardi cruising in the background.
That's Mazzacane, the Argentine driver, in his first race. He's in 11th position. Incidentally, he's been a heck of a lot better than anybody expected him to be. No one had ever heard of him. He'd had a very undistinguished career up to Formula 1, but he was really outstandingly good in the practicing and qualifying sessions, and looked worthy of a position in the Formula 1 team in a very much improved Minardi. Now here is Rubens Barrichello, who is lapping 2 seconds a lap faster than Michael Schumacher, with the gap now 4.8 seconds. In 2 laps, he's going to be with the boss. Schumacher is 3rd, Ralf Schumacher. Villeneuve is 4th. A BAR going to get their first points. Fisichella in the new Benetton designed by Tim Demcham, a much simpler car than last year's, running well in 5th position. 2 BMW Williams in the top 6, because Jenson Button is still 6th. Now here are the retirements again. Both Jaguars, Herbert and Irvine, out. Both Arrows out, De La Rosa and Verstappen. Both McLarens out. Coulthard and Hakkinen. Lacey is out. Trulli is out. And, of course, Frentzen is out, so that's both Jordans.
Well, I'll be amazed if anything other happens than Barrichello just cruises to not much closer than that.
Here they are.
And then just holds station. I don't believe Michael's got a problem particularly. They've got such a cushion, and this is a McLaren game, really, pacing themselves at the front of a Grand Prix with an easy 1-2 apparently in their pocket. James, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Martin, still 15 laps to go in this race, of course, don't forget, so anything can happen in that situation. Down here in the Ferrari garage, they are absolutely calm, very sanguine. Michael, they say, has absolutely no problem at all. My gut feeling is I think Rubens is trying to do a bit of showboating. He wants to get as close as he can to Michael to show that, he's on the pace, he's right there, he's with Michael Schumacher going into this championship, whereas perhaps Eddie Irvine in the past might have been 40 seconds back at the end of a race. Rubens is going to be right with him. Help with a safety car, of course, but nevertheless, it's it's Ferrari looking pretty comfortable at the front at the moment. But as I say, 15 laps to go yet.
Well, that 1 minute 31.4 of Rubens certainly proved your point there, James. But I think Michael has got it pretty much under control in the front. Remember, this is a tough track on brakes, particularly. We've seen Frentzen was going to win this race in '97. Brakes exploded. So they've got no reason. I'm a bit surprised they let Rubens push quite so hard. They've got no reason, really, to go any faster than they are. And it does appear now that Barrichello has just positioned himself a reasonable distance behind Michael. The worst case scenario is Michael having a technical failure or a driving error and taking the pair of them out if they get too close.
And wouldn't they be popular with each other if that happened? Now let's ride with Barrichello and look at the master in the front. Michael Schumacher at work for Ferrari, seemingly on his way to his 36th Grand Prix victory out of the 127 Grand Prix he will have driven in by the conclusion of this one. Now, Barrichello, new to Ferrari. If he finishes second to Michael Schumacher, he can be very proud of himself. As I said earlier on, I understand that there's been a sellout at Sao Paulo for the Brazilian Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time. If Rubens Barrichello goes there, not only as Brazil's first Ferrari driver, but second in his first race only to Michael Schumacher, and he goes into the lead. That is, wow! I was going to say I think they'll deify him. I think they certainly will now. Michael Schumacher must have a problem, because there was no hesitation then whatsoever.
No, hold on. He's got to stop again for gas. James was right.
Well
Didn't put enough fuel in it. They've got to let Rubens get down the road. He's probably got a bit of a quick stop at the end, a quick flash of fuel, and that's the only reason I can put on it.
Well spotted, James. Thank you, Martin. But
we'll see if it's right yet.
That's certainly a dramatic development, whichever way you slice it. On lap 46 out of 58. Ferrari leads, Ferrari second, but not in the order we expected. Yeah, Ferrari, I've just heard, in fact I can see them out of the window, the massed cohorts of Ferrari, and it's Barrichello. I can see one of them carrying a board which has got Barrichello on it. So Rubinho, as he is known not only in Brazil but everywhere else, and a very, very popular chap he is too, coming in for fuel. Now, Ralf Schumacher is 37 seconds behind him, so Barrichello will have plenty of time to take on a sort of splash and dash, come out into the track again in second position, and there he is coming into the pit lane. Are you there, James? No, he's not.
He's got a way to go yet. The white line going over now for the speed limiter, but they're well spotted there, James, on that short field. They obviously changed strategy halfway through the race to try and leapfrog him over Frentzen. He had a bad pit stop, but Frentzen had an even worse one. James is there now.
Yeah, I spoke to Rubens yesterday. I said, I bet you're looking forward to benefiting from one of those Ross Brawn race strategies. And he looked at me in the eye and he said, you betcha. Very, very short fill. 7.9, completely normal. Everybody here is absolutely as calm as you like. It was exactly part of the strategy to get Barrichello past Frentzen, and marvellous.
Well, Michael Schumacher has been saying all along prior to this race, it is absolutely essential for us at Ferrari if we are to do well in the World Championship this year against a team as strong and as experienced and as successful as McLaren, with their driver partnership of Häkkinen and Coulthard, to get points early. We haven't done that in the past. We've suffered. We've caught McLaren in the latter parts of the season, but we need to be with them, if not ahead of them, at the beginning of the season. Well, at the present moment, on lap 47, with 11 to go, Ferrari are on a maximum 16 Constructors' Championship points. 10 for Schumacher, 6 for Barrichello, and of course, as out of the race goes Jenson Button. Well, that is whatever. But it looks to me as though it's not his fault. It's some sort of a problem. Look at the smoke from the back of the car, and he can say with enormous pride that he was in the points for a lot of the race. There it is. There's the confirmation. You see, there is Villeneuve going through, and Villeneuve behind him, Fisichella. That's how close it was, because there is Zonta going past Jenson Button as he parks the Williams, and the rear wheels lock up. So definitely not Jenson's problem. I think there's a little hard work probably to do in Munich, unless in the very unlikely event of the gearbox locking up. Well done, Jenson Button.
Brilliant performance from Button, it has to be said. His pace was good. It didn't fade away as the race went on. He was mixing it with some more experienced drivers, and I have to say, a very, very impressive debut for Jenson Button.
Now that means that this is an embarrassment of riches for the BAR team. Not that I think they will be the least bit embarrassed by it after the appalling season they had last year, but both their drivers are now in the points, with Jacques Villeneuve in 4th position and Ricardo Zonta from Brazil in the second BAR in 6th position. And it means to say that there are only 10 cars left now with Button out of the running, and they are on lap 48. There is the leader, Michael Schumacher. He's 26 seconds ahead of Rubens Barrichello after Rubens' second stop. Ralf Schumacher is 9 seconds behind Barrichello and lapping faster, but I think not fast enough to catch him in the remaining distance. Jacques Villeneuve is in 4th place, 16 seconds behind Ralf Schumacher. Fisichella looks as though he's going to score 2 points for Benetton, and he might even score 3 because he's right behind Jacques Villeneuve's BAR, and Ricardo Zonta is 6th. So there is Ralf Schumacher. He turns in, we disappear, but we will be back. Lap 50, 8 to go, including the one they are on. Michael Schumacher, a commanding lead of just over 24 seconds from his teammate, Rubens Barrichello. Sadly, Jenson Button out of the race, which looked like an engine problem when he was about to score a point in his first World Championship race. He can feel very, very proud of himself. BMW can feel very, very proud of themselves, because I don't think even in their wildest moments they would have expected to score points.
Did you catch a load of that, Murray? Schumacher well out of shape in the first corner. Unbelievable. He's just having fun, I think, but I bet he won't do that again next time around. Look, gets on the throttle and has to give it a full half a turn on the steering wheel, which is a lot in a Formula 1 car, to put it. So I think he's just bored, probably.
Well, I was saying that BMW can feel very proud of themselves to be in the points, and they are, because although Button is out, Schumacher, Ralf is very much in. Not only is he in, but he's lapping marginally faster than Rubens Barrichello in front of him. Although I'm pretty sure that's because Barrichello, knowing that there is a 9-second cushion between them, will not be pushing as hard as he could.
Here's that scrap, Murray, look. This is Villeneuve. Fisichella. Salo has now passed Zonta. Salo is up into 6th place, and this is the scrap. Villeneuve, Fisichella, Salo, Zonta and Wirtz, and they're covered by just 2 and a little bit seconds.
And Villeneuve there is 4th. There's Fisichella 5th, Salo 6th. Zonta is in 7th position and Wirtz behind him in 8th place. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars as quickly as you can say. It's battling for 4th position. Wonderful scrap, and this is the 51st lap of a 58-lap race.
Yeah, I'd like to see a replay of how Salo made it past Zonta, actually. We haven't seen too much overtaking this afternoon. Be interesting to see where and how he was able to do it. Good performance from Salo today. As I said, I think he lost out in the pit stop somewhere, but he's getting it back up into the points. And at the moment, BAR look like they could be in for their first ever World Championship point. Here we go, look, we have got a replay. Salo taking a dive up, I think that's into turn 9. Good move there, made it stick, kept his line, and off he goes.
Yeah, pretty experienced chap now, of course, Mika Salo. This is his 77th Grand Prix. He's driven for Tyrrell, he's driven for Lotus, he's driven for Ferrari, he's driven for BAR, now he's with Sauber, and he's not only pushing past Zonta as he has done, but he's closing up on Fisichella, looking for 2 points and not just 1, because Salo now in the Sauber with a very strong Ferrari engine has undoubtedly got more power than Fisichella, and he's looking for that place. There he is, number 17. There's Zonta, there is Wirtz. So both the Benettons are there, and Wirtz is just 2 places off a point. There's 2 other runners left in this race. Marc Genet is in 9th place in the Minardi, and Nick Heidfeld is still running in the Prost in his first Grand Prix. 10th and last. So there have been 12 retirements. Lap 52.
Mika Salo getting a little bit ragged through 3, 4 and 5 there, but he's clearly the man on the move in that pack. He'd like to get up behind his great friend Jacques Villeneuve, who's currently running in 4th place. Sparkling performance here from Mika Salo. Look at the dust pouring off of his front brakes as he nails the middle pedal and tries to dump some speed, turns in nicely. That car's handling well.
The thing that's interesting me is the situation that BMW have not got one of the very latest, very small, very light engines for their return to Formula 1, and Honda have, and Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams is ahead of Villeneuve in 4th position. He's ahead of Zonta in 6th position. And it's not as though Jacques Villeneuve is a dusty driver. This is the world champion of 1997 that we're looking at leading this batch. There's Fisichella. 2 Tim Jensen, who designed this car, can be very proud of himself.
Yes, and Villeneuve making a mistake there into turn 14 too. We saw him lock up a wheel, but still heading the pack up as they come over the line. There's 6/10 back to Fisichella, another half second back to Salo, Zonta, and then Wirtz. You can see in your picture now.
Now, this is why these Grand Prix drivers have to be so superlatively fit. This race has been running an hour and a half. The temperature is some 30 degrees. The cockpits are very hot indeed. They're wearing heavy, fireproof suits. They're cocooned in those cockpits. They've got an 800 horsepower, very, very, very hot engine behind them. And they've been working badly ever since the race began.
Yeah, first time we've seen Zonta looking like a Grand Prix driver, really. Had a poor year last year, didn't help by breaking his leg, of course, in Brazil. But he really looks, for the first time, even this weekend also, that he's actually with the car and not just one step behind it.
It was Ricardo Zonta went out of the Australian Grand Prix last year, as did his teammate Jacques Villeneuve, who broke a wing not so very far away from where he is at the moment. There it's the BAR of Villeneuve, the white car in fourth position. Then Fisichella's blue Benetton, Salo's dark blue Sauber Ferrari, a light blue Benetton of Wirtz, following the white car of Ricardo Zonta in 7th place. If Zonta could get past Salo, who's passed him, it would mean that both the BARs were in the points at the end of the race if they finish it.
Yes.
Michael Schumacher is on lap 54 out of 58, 23 seconds ahead of Barrichello, with Ralf Schumacher still third.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen because Salo's the one that just overtook Zonta, but Salo still very much on the move. There's a great helicam shot there as these guys move into the final stages of the Melbourne Grand Prix. And the gaps are still pretty consistent. Salo registered just 0.3 of a second behind Fisichella last time around.
Well, Jordan won't be ringing any joy bells, McLaren won't be ringing any joy bells, nor will Arrows. It's been a bad race for all those teams, an even worse one for Jaguar. But great things can have small beginnings, and I know that Jaguar and all the rest of them will be applying themselves in the next 2 weeks. There's only 2 weeks before Brazil. It was 5 weeks between Australia and Brazil last year. The pressure is on this season right from the beginning, with 17 races, the extra one at Indianapolis in America.
All of these cars are on the lead lap. Of course, as I mentioned before, the safety car shuffled them back up around lap 15. But with Michael just cruising at the front, two McLarens out of the picture completely. Unusually, almost nobody's been lapped in this race. Just Genet and Heidfeld, who've both had problems in 9th and 10th place, that have been lapped.
Well, this is great stuff. And interestingly, Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams is by far the fastest man on the track at the moment. He's lapping a second faster than Schumacher, a second faster than Barrichello. He's closed the gap to Barrichello to 8 seconds, but there are not enough laps left for him to catch him, never mind get past him. Villeneuve continues to hold that 4th position. Fisichella, there he is behind him in 5th position. Salo trying to get past. Zonta trying to get to grips with the Sauber in front of him. And Alexander Wirtz keeping a watching brief on all of them. These places could change in the twinkling of an eye. And there are 4 laps left, including the one they are on. I remind you that Michael Schumacher is still out there, still leading, looking good for 10 World Championship points. Rubens Barrichello looking good for 6 World Championship points in his first race for Ferrari. Ralf Schumacher, the first race for BMW Williams, looking good for 4 World Championship points and getting on the podium. That would be terrific. But this is terrific too.
Somebody running wide there and kicking up the dust, but no position change at the moment. This is where Salo is quick on the brakes, but he's not close enough. But still filling the mirrors of Fisichella's Benetton. I think Villeneuve and Fisichella will be very relieved to see the checkered flag at the end of this race. I suspect they're both just struggling a little bit.
Mika Salo, the Finn, the very, very cheerful Finn, is pushing mighty, mighty hard. He's certainly going to score a World Championship point in his first race for Sauber if he stays where he is in 6th position, but look how close it is. Anything could happen. Michael Schumacher out there in front for Ferrari. I said earlier on that he's had a great deal of bad luck, ill fortune in Australia. If he wins this one, it's not only going to be... Oh, and Zotta having a look. It's going to be Michael Schumacher's first race win in Australia if he wins. He's got 2 laps to go, each of 3.3 miles at the end of this one. He's on his 56th lap. But here, the attention, I mean, Genet is a lap down in the Minardi in 9th place. Heidfeld looks as though he's going to finish his first race for Prost in 10th position, 2 laps down.
Salo thinking, shall I risk a point? Shall I gamble 1 point if I get a sniff at the back of his gearbox? Shall I gamble 1 point for 2? And knowing Mika, he'll be saying, yeah, of course I will, I'll have a go. So I don't think Fisichella's at all safe, while Mika Salo appears to have the faster car.
Yeah, he's got that very powerful Ferrari engine from last year. Sauber have an arrangement with Ferrari that they will use last year's Ferrari Works engine, and we all know how good that was. Salo having a look. Wurtz trying to get through, but Jacques Villeneuve is going to be a mighty difficult man to pass. He's got all the experience. Meantime, Michael Schumacher, and now the rest of them are on their 57th lap. That's the top 8 are on their 57th and the same lap. Marc Genet a lap down in 8th place. Nick Heidfeld 2 laps down in 10th position. But between the 1st and 8th places, there are just 58 seconds.
Interestingly, we're looking at a gaggle of cars there, as we switch to the Ferrari, that ran very early in the year 2000, Murray, and not surprising that there's a couple of each of them in that pack there, and 2 Ferraris running strongly at the front end that seem to have good reliability. So those teams that got their car out early are certainly getting some dividends today.
I was talking to Mike Gascoigne, the Jordan designer, just before this race began, and he said to me, Michael Schumacher will win this race, and I think Ferrari will win the Constructors' Championship, and Schumacher will win the Drivers' Championship. Well, we'll see, but it's a wonderful start.
But I liked Mika Häkkinen's positive mental attitude. He said, hey, listen, there's 16 races left yet, and that's what we normally have in a season before we start, and I think that's a very good approach to have.
Yeah. We, one race, one swallow does not make a summer. One race does not make a world championship. All that Ferrari can say is they've started extremely well. All that McLaren, Jaguar, Arrows and Jordan can say is they have started extremely badly. But there's still 16 races to make up the gap or to lose to your rivals. But Michael Schumacher will be very, very happy with this. He's been enormously confident all the way up to the start of this race, all through testing and all through qualifying, even though he started 3rd behind the 2 McLarens. He said, I'm not the least bit bothered. This is a long race. 3rd is a good place to start. And it looks as though, as is usually the case when Michael says something, he was absolutely right. The flags are flying, and Michael Schumacher is coming through to win for the first time the Australian Grand Prix in wonderful style. A great sight. Schumacher wins. Fist out. Victory salute. And a euphoric Ferrari team greet him home and look down to see Rubens Barrichello. There he is, finishing in 2nd place in his first race for Ferrari. Now, only 7 seconds further back, it should be Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams, and it is. Ralf Schumacher finishes 3rd. A great finish for him and for the Williams team.
That chasing pack is some 27 seconds behind, but at the moment Villeneuve is heading it from Fisichella still. There he is now, coming through 14 into 15. No position change, it appears, in there. So BAR are going to take their first World Championship points, providing there's no scrutineering hiccups after the race. And over the line they go. Fisichella 2 points, Salo the extra point. We've got 2 Schumachers on the podium, Murray. Ferrari winning this race for the 2nd consecutive year.
Yeah, I don't think they will be any happier than the BAR team, who've not only got both their cars home in the top 7, but one of them scoring points, and it's right that it should be Jacques Villeneuve, and the other nearly doing so in 7th position, Riccardo Zonta. But now the two Ferrari drivers go round in formation, saluting each other. But the man of the day, as we have seen so very often in the past, is the great double world champion Michael Schumacher, making a wonderful start for his attempt at a 3rd world championship in the year 2000 to achieve the goal that he has been fighting for ever since he left Benetton in 1958, to bring Ferrari back to the front, not just in the Constructors' Championship, which in a way was a consolation prize for them last year, but the vital Drivers' Championship, which was last won for them by Jody Scheckter as long ago as 1979. And the BMW Williams sandwiched between the two Ferraris. Ralf Schumacher has driven as meritorious a race, in my opinion, as his brother.
I think it was a solid drive from Ralf, actually, in the middle of the pack there. The pit stops worked out well for him. The reliability stakes worked out well for him, but a good, solid drive, as we saw so many times last year. Michael's going to be very, very happy, isn't he? Got his teammate beside him, his kid brother behind him. He leads the World Championship. He's got a good car underneath him with a lot of reliability. He's, well, what else could he ask for?
Well, the Drivers' Championship, of course, is as the finish in the race. Michael Schumacher leads with 10 points, Barrichello second on 6, Ralf Schumacher third on 4, Villeneuve fourth on 3, Fisichella fifth on 2, Mika Salo a fine 6th with 1 point. Ferrari lead the Constructors' Championship with a total of 16 points, the maximum they could score from 1st and 2nd. 12 points ahead of Williams, and who would have forecast that 2 hours ago? And James Allen is with Ferrari designer Ross Brawn.
Ross, a terrific win for Ferrari today, a 1-2. How do you stand, though, relative to McLaren, do you think, with the car? You think you're on a level?
It looked to me, performance-wise, we're pretty comparable. I mean, obviously Rubens got stuck, but Michael could respond when Häkkinen responded, but it's going to be very tough. I mean, it looks to me as though they're very, very similar. And it's got the makings of a great year. But at least we're starting here competitive. Last year we were a bit desperate. So I'm really, really happy with today.
I spoke to Rubens yesterday. I said, are you looking forward to benefiting from one of those famous Ross Brawn strategies? And he said to me, you betcha. And you switched it for him today, didn't you?
Yeah, it was again a no-loss strategy, really, because when it became clear Frentzen was going to go longer, we took a chance and it worked out. Heinz Harald had a problem, so I'm not sure what would have come from that, but no, we were pleased with that.
Well done, Ross.
Thanks.
Pleased? I should think he's pleased. He goes back to Maranello, a top man, and I haven't mentioned, I said he was the Ferrari designer. Ross Brawn, of course, is the Ferrari technical director. Let's give the credit where it's due for the design of that car to South African Rory Byrne. Well done, Rory, you are a star. And so is Michael Schumacher, and so is Rubens Barrichello, as Ralf Schumacher looking cool, calm and collected as ever. Embraces his brother. Oh, there's never been two brothers like this in Formula One. We've had them in the past, of course, the Rodriguez brothers and various others, not all that many of them, but this is the most successful brother partnership of all time in Formula One. Ralf on the right, Michael on the right, on the left, showing again that when he's happy, he is very, very happy.
A walk in Albert Park for Michael Schumacher this afternoon, and Jean Todt, their sporting director of Ferrari, is pretty pleased with himself and the entire team. It was faultless, really, wasn't it? McLaren getting away at the start of the race and with a 1-2 there, but Ferrari coming through at the end, and it was just so easy for Michael.
I've never made any secret of my admiration for Michael Schumacher, and one of the many things I like about him is his uninhibited joy when he does well. I mean, he's not a grey man who doesn't show any emotions at all. If he wins, he's happy, and he shows it. And I bet you, when he gets on that podium, he's going to do the famous Michael Schumacher leap high up in the air to say, I am there, I am number one, I am a very happy man. And Melbourne, as ever, has seen a superb race. The Australians are a wonderfully enthusiastic lot.
The first thing we have to do is go and be weighed. and they stand on some scales holding their crash helmet to make sure that they match the weight that has been allocated to them pre the race, and there's no shenanigans going on there. There's Michael when he got out of shape towards the end of the race while he was just playing around, but as soon as they get off off the scales, they zoom up a tunnel, a passageway behind and up onto the podium, and when they look out, you can see the crowd that Michael's going to look out onto, and they've got lots of red hats and red t-shirts and Ferrari flags to wave at him.
And they're a lovely crowd. They won't come over the barriers and attempt to spoil things. They're just here to show their enthusiasm. Incidentally, the new Premier of Victoria, the state of Victoria, in which we are situated here at Melbourne, the Honourable Steve Bracks, will be presenting the trophy to Michael Schumacher as a winner, and then James Strong, who's the chief executive of Qantas, who've done so much for this race, is going to be giving the Constructors' Championship trophy to, I expect, Jean Todt. It's normally him, or he might ask Ross Broad to go up. Ron Walker, who's chairman of the Australian Grand Prix Corporation, and probably more than anyone else is responsible for the success of this race here at Melbourne, will be giving the second prize to Rubens Barrichello. And then John Osborne of CAMS, which is the governing body of motorsport in Australia, is going to give Ralf Schumacher his trophy. Enormously happy Ferrari team, of course. They all work hard. Arrows work hard, Jordan work hard, Minardi work hard, Williams work hard. Some get the success and the rewards, some don't. And they certainly going to Ferrari, and just listen to the crowd. And there's Michael. Is he happy? Yes, of course he is. So is Ralph on the right. Rubens Barrichello on the podium in the scarlet Ferrari overalls for the first time, and it won't be the last. And there is Steve Bracks on the left, the Honourable Steve Bracks, the Premier of Victoria, in the dark suit, and he'll be making a mighty fast getaway when those champagne bottles spray and the German national anthem sounds out for Michael Schumacher.
Great scenes on the podium here as the Premier of Victoria, the Honourable Steve Bracks, presents Michael Schumacher with his first win in Australia. Back-to-back wins for Ferrari. Last year it was Eddie Irvine. This year it's Michael Schumacher, and what a fantastic start it's made Alan Jones, for Michael Schumacher's hopes of winning back his World Championship, as we see Ron Walker now presenting the second prize to Rubens Barrichello. And what a great result for Rubens. His first drive for Ferrari, he couldn't have dreamt of it being any better, really.
Absolute dream start. I mean, what a great scenario. To bring 2 new Ferraris down to Australia, finished first and second, consolidate Rubens' position in the team. He'll get a lot of support. Not that he didn't have it before, but the Italians love somebody that gives 101%. He's proven he can do that now. He will have cemented his place in the team, and they'll make for a very, very strong combination. John Osborne presenting Ralph Schumacher with the third prize. Ron Walker beating a hasty retreat there as well. And James Strong from Qantas presenting the Ferrari team with the Constructors' prize today as well. But this is magnificent. This is only the second time the Schumacher boys have been on the podium together. The last time Monza 98, and they're certainly celebrating, Alan. Wonderful trophies too. If you have a look at them, they represent the wooden steering wheel, and they're made here, I think, in Bacchus Marsh, and they're beautiful trophies. So a credit to the gentleman that does them. But a great result for BMW Williams too, because they really have finished. They're finished in third spot. They've got some valuable championship points, and for them to be on the podium in their first back in Formula One is a great result. Well, he's had a few ordinary trips to Australia, Michael Schumacher. This has got to be a stellar day for him. Not only has he got his teammate next to him, meaning his Ferrari team pick up the maximum constructors' points, but his younger brother next to him as well, and it just couldn't get any better. Yeah, I think the schnapps will be flying tonight. They'll be drinking schnapps down in Lygon Street, I think, in Melbourne tonight. Let's have a look at the results now. Alan, let's go through Michael Schumacher, Ferrari, Rubens Barrichello, Ferrari. They were 3 and 4 on the grid. The McLarens fell over pretty early, and from there it was all red car. Yeah, and his brother Rolf in third. Great result for Jacques Villeneuve too, because, I mean, after a very unreliable and very poor season last year, I believe the BARs are going to show well this year with the new Honda engines. Fisichella doing well for Benetton, and Mika Salo with the old Ferrari engine from last year, picking up a point as well. Zonta, Wirtz, as you say, going right through the ranks there. So a tremendous performance today by the Schumacher brothers, by Ferrari. But let's go through the teams. On the downside, McLaren. Out they went. First of all, Coulthard, and then Mika Häkkinen, who had the lead and seemed to be in a pretty good position. Well, they've got the speed, there's no doubt about that, and they've got the drivers. I believe that David probably makes just a few little mistakes more than what he should have, a driver of that experience, but they've just got to address that reliability problem, and I think if they do that, we're going to see an unbelievable tussle this year between them and Ferrari. Jordan, in the space of one lap, Frentzen, pit stop was terrible, then Trulli just blew his car up, and then Frentzen had gearbox trouble and they were out of business. Yeah, well, I mean, it's the ironic part about it. I thought if anyone was going to have no reliability problems, it would have been Jordan, because they did stick to an older proven package to concentrate on reliability, and of course they went out. You know, it's motorsport. I mean, you get teams spending hundreds of millions of dollars in the off-season. They come all the way out to Australia and can't last 1 hour and 45 minutes. All right, well, we'll come back and analyse all the teams, the good, the bad and the ugly. But what we have here is a wonderful sport. And the Melbourne crowd do it again. Look at that, all the different nationalities in there, the different support for the different teams, and all great fun. But today is Schumacher Day and Ferrari Day. Michael Schumacher wins the Qantas Australian Formula One Grand Prix from his teammate Rubens Barrichello and his brother Ralf Schumacher in the Williams. We'll come back and analyse the entire afternoon when we return on Nine's Wide World of Sports. Welcome back. The year 2000 Qantas Australian Formula One Grand Prix has been run and won by Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari, Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari second, and Ralf Schumacher in the Williams in third place. Jacques Villeneuve did very well in the BAR team, picking up their first points, 3 points. Giancarlo Fisichella in the Benetton, and Mika Salo in the Sabre, the other points getters today. And just fantastic scenes down there, Alan. We've just got word through. We can go down to the interviews now with the first 3 place getters, the 2 Schumacher brothers, and also Rubens Barrichello.
Welcome to the top 3 finishing drivers of the 2000 Australian Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello and Ralf Schumacher. Michael, this must be the perfect start to the season for you. 1-2 for Ferrari, first for you, your first win in 10 attempts here in Australia, no points in McLaren. You must be delighted.
Yes, certainly. I mean, delighted is probably the wrong word. I mean, imagine how long when Ferrari is the fifth times we try to win this Australian Grand Prix and be competitive from the beginning of the season. But somehow when I went into my new car, I immediately felt this is the car I'm going to doing with and I'm going to fight really from the beginning of the championship with. And obviously there was a little bit of disappointment yesterday because we didn't get the full potential out. And myself, I wasn't too worried. And I believe I proved this today, that I was right. And thanks really to the guys, they have done a fantastic job. I mean, not just the car is reliable, but it's so bloody fast, this car. I'm really, really delighted to drive this car.
Now, even at the start, when you were in third place behind the two McLarens, you just seemed totally in control. Was that the case?
Yeah, I was already from the beginning basically driving pretty easy, saving my tyres, saving my fuel, just for the final moment when pit stops would have come to attack. That was my strategy, and it worked fine. Unfortunately, the two guys in front of me broke down. I would have wished to have a race until the end to prove really how good we are, but I think we will have plenty of opportunities to do this year.
Now, talking about that, when you saw David retire, did you then consciously pick up the pace to perhaps force Mika into also having a similar problem?
I mean, I saw David slowing down, and I was wondering what's going on, whether he had a problem or whether his team told him to do certain things. I wasn't sure. So I was worried for a moment what is really going on. Luckily, I saw him going into the pits and I knew what is going on. So it was just a matter of being calm, cool, putting pressure on Mika that we wait till the pit stop and see what happens. That was my strategy. I wasn't thinking he would break down as well.
Thank you, Michael. Rubens, your first race with Ferrari equalled your best ever finish, but at the start, when you were behind Heinz Harald and the others were getting away, what were your thoughts at that moment?
It was really hard because, like Michael said, this car is unbelievable. This car is really, really good. So, unfortunately, in Melbourne, there's not a lot of places to overtake unless the car in front is really slow. Heinz Harald was trying to keep his pace, and at a certain point, he was going really fast, but that took a long time, so the guys in front were going away. So, you know, I was trying to work the tactics with Ross, and everybody says he's the maestro, and he really is. I mean, he changed my strategy. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened to Frentzen, but I think we would have done him anyway. But he did a fantastic job, and the whole team did.
How close to that first stop did you actually make the decision that you were going to go for a second one?
He was on that lap, I would say. He was pretty much on that lap when we saw that Heinz Harald was going for a long first stint. We chose to go for two, so it was on that lap.
Thanks, Rubens. Ralph, the day didn't start very well when you had to take the spare car. I mean, how surprised you to finish, let alone finish on the podium?
Yeah, it's really amazing. I mean, we came here again like last year with having had no race distances in a test, but the team did a fantastic job. The car was really great to drive. It was the best car I've ever had. And, you know, speaking about the engine, BMW did a great job. I mean, it did its job as drivable as an ICE engine, and it was reliable, you know, and we finished third. I mean, I thought that if we finished, that we finish in the points, but I never thought about finishing third. It was a great day for us.
Now, in the race, you were battling quite closely with a number of other drivers. Did you have a good, fair fight?
Well, it's actually a little bit boring here because the only thing you can do is following cars and wait till they pit and then be quicker, and that's what we did. We went into the pits very late, I think nearly the latest, and that made us overtaking the other cars.
Thanks, Ralph. Michael, we go on now to Brazil, where I think it's fair to say the last few years Ferrari have struggled in the anti-clockwise and over the bumps. Do you feel you can carry on this good form with this new car?
Certainly, yes. I mean, this car is a faster car than it has ever been. It has been competitive. It is reliable, as we have seen. So I'm really looking forward now for all the season. I believe we will be able to be competitive everywhere. Not only the car is fast, we have already very good ideas how to develop it, and so everything looks to be a very good year for Ferrari.
Certainly looks like that at the moment, Alan. And what about Rubens Barrichello? He goes there, the first Brazilian Ferrari driver, and now with a podium finish as well, second place here in Australia.
They'll go berserk over there. They really will go berserk. I think they're the largest, or second largest Italian population outside of Italy. And like the Australians, they love their Ferrari, but he won't be able to move from the time he gets there.
Michael very relaxed. As he said yesterday, he finished in third position going into the grid. No worries, he wasn't overly concerned yesterday and just drove a nice tactical race. It was almost as if he was waiting for the McLarens to fall over.
Well, I honestly believe that had that session not been stopped because of Coulthard's accident, he probably would have been on the front row, if not pole. So as a driver, you get to know how your car feels and how it's going. So he thought, well, third place, it's it's a long way. He was obviously very comfortable about it.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll find out just what happened to Jaguar today with Jackie Stewart. But before we go to the break, the attendance today, a magnificent 124,300 people, the second highest ever at the Australian Formula One Grand Prix, and a total over the 4 days of 359,500, which is more than 14,000 more than last year. So all round a magnificent day. 124,300 attending Albert Park today here for the Qantas Australian Formula One Grand Prix. When we come back, we'll put Jackie Stewart on the griller and find out what happened to that beautiful green beast of his, the Jaguars. That's next on Wired World of Sports.